Fuel up yourself with G Fuel and use code INCON for 10% off your order down below in the description to help support the Twitchiest community. Hello everybody, we are here with your Agni guide, taking Agni into the mid lane. We're going to be doing this guide just a little bit different this time. Instead of manually going over all of the god's abilities, I'm just going to kind of talk a little bit more about how my laning phase is going to go, our builds. We're still going to cover all that kind of stuff, but I'm not going to cover the exact details of all of the abilities, so we can focus more on what I'm looking to do in the laning phase, talk about our builds, matchups, ability combos that go together. We'll still talk about leveling order and stuff, but I don't think I'm going to cover the exact specifics of each ability since we covered those all in the last guide series. So I want to cover stuff that's a little bit more relevant right now and the stuff that kind of changes from the past guide to this guide. So we're going to be starting off with our Mage's Blessing and our tier 1 magic focus that we can take into anti-healing or Spear of Desolation, either way that we need it. And we're going to get our dash first. Our dash is just our highest damaging ability here. And so we're going to be able to dash right through the speed buff, throw back an auto onto that big harpy, and then I can just head right over to the mid lane. Grab myself a health potion, 2 mana pot, and a bead. Now when I'm coming up to this wave on Agni, I want to run up towards the Scylla, and then I want to dash back away towards my creeps so I'm closer to my tower. I only want to dash forward aggressively if I feel like I'm not going to get ganked. But because they've got a Neja in the jungle, I feel like I'm quite susceptible to an early blink gank from the jungle. Speaking of early blink ganks from the jungle, we're going to have our Kamba doing the exact same thing. I'm going to save my getaway skill right here. Pop my health potion. I don't know if he's gonna die. He's gonna be able to live here. So we're gonna finish up clearing this wave, and we're gonna try to get back towards our red buff. At level 2, we grab R2. This is gonna be the ability that we max out first. It is our main form of damage. The one thing you see Agni players really not know what to do is with your dash. This is an extremely high damaging ability, but also if you use your dash aggressively, now you don't have a getaway skill. So my advice right off the top would simply be, if you do not know if it's a good time to use your dash, it's probably a bad time to use your dash. Don't feel bad saving this and being a little bit more defensive with it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We're not going to get our 1 until level 4. That's going to be the ability that we combo with our 2, 3, and ultimate in order to get a stun. So we're not going to get until level 4. We do grab a second point in our 2 to help us out in the lane clear. And now that we're level 4, we can put a point into our 1. Our most standard combination on Agni is simply going to be the 2-1 combo. So I'm going to stack up my passive. After my passive is stacked up to get that extra dot damage, I go for the 2 and then the 1. You proc your 1 after the 2, and your 2 will still proc it at the very end. You don't have to put down your 1 first and then 2. You can 2 and then 1. Now, if you're going to be using your dash in order to proc your 1, then chances are you're going to use your dash first and then throw down your 1 on top of somewhere where your flame is in order to proc the stun. No, not the death from exploding. Not the dash explanation death. I'm going down. I'm yelling timber. That's okay. We got level 5, so we're going to grab our ultimate, and we're going to start working our way into our boots. We're going to get some CDR here going on Agni. Going to grab a couple of wards out as well to try to keep me alive. The CDR on Agni is actually quite nice right now. Later on, we're going to be getting ourselves items like Soul Reaver and Soul Gem. These proccing items, because of how well they pair up with Agni's ultimate, because you can cast the ulti up to 3 times as shown by the UI down here in the bottom left for your charges. Because of that, he's very good at proccing those abilities, so grabbing a little bit of CDR just helps him out on that front. Now, you don't need to have full 40% CDR. You don't have to get an item like a Chronos Pendant, but a little bit of CDR will go a long way. Something just like a Mage's Blessing cooldown boots can be extremely helpful for later on when we're proccing those abilities. This game as well, we're also going to have that Spear of Desolation because I do not need a Divine Ruin.
Be careful left.
One thing of note about Agni's ultimate is it actually does not cost any mana. So if you look at my mana bar right now, if I throw out my ulti, absolutely no mana goes down from that. Gonna save one last ulti just to make sure I can kill Basila here. Thought he was gonna try to dash away. I wonder if it was actually still down from throwing it over to that right-hand side.
Tower is under attack.
So right there, I was waiting to use my last ulti proc, just in case he was gonna dash over a wall. I knew exactly where he'd be, and I'd be able to kill him. And we used my dash aggressively as well to get that bleed damage on the opponent.
You're on fire.
Gonna back it up. There's no waves for me to clear right now, so I can get myself a cooldown boot, and I'll continue working into the Spear of Desolation. I'm gonna grab a Sentry Ward, keep it on my character, see if I can't use it potentially as a counter ward here in the mid lane. Your 1 on Agni does combo with all 3 of your other abilities. So you can use ulti 1, 2, 1, 3, 1. Either way, you're gonna get that stun on the effect. The actual 1 almost does no damage. It's pretty strictly a CC use ability. So you're almost never gonna use it by itself. Although you can do kind of tricksy things, like throwing it down on a wave. In order to get credit for the wave as you're going by. Like if you don't have an ability up or something to clear a wave and you throw down the 1, because it actually does sit there for a couple of seconds, you can start to rotate even if your abilities weren't up and get credit for the wave. So I'm just gonna go for a full burst right here onto Basila. He's down to 1 HP. I don't think I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna dash away. Neja's coming towards me. I think he might try to blink ulti me, but he's gonna get put in combat by Camazotz. I had my finger on the beads button, eyes on the minimap. So in that situation, I actually wasn't even looking at the Neja or at my screen at all. I was strictly looking at the minimap, and I was walking based off the minimap. As well as looking at the Neja. So instead of waiting for the audio effect of his blink, instead I could be looking at the minimap. The second he blinks, I would be able to see it, and then I could preemptively bead. I find it a little bit easier to bead something based off of the map location than I necessarily do audio effects. And so because I knew he was looking for the blink on me, I was just keeping my eyes on the minimap the entire time. They're gonna go over to Oracles, but I don't want to get myself caught out of there, so we're gonna back up and start working on our Spear of Desolation. Agni, still a pretty decent mage. Agni is known for being decent. That's kind of his whole thing. He is ranked viable. He's totally fine in casuals, of course. But you have to make sure that you're not using your dash too aggressively. For his matchups, he actually likes gods that cannot deal with his poke. So he prefers gods that do not have a built-in healing. A good example of that is somebody like a Zhong Kui. Zhong Kui, because he has the built-in healing, can actually be pretty annoying for Agni. Same goes for gods that are going to be building a lot of life steal. Somebody like a Hades or even a Gooby can be pretty annoying for Agni, because a lot of Agni's lane pressure comes from him building up his passive and then landing an ulti on the enemy mid laner, thus poking them out and keeping them forced back. On Agni, you can 100 to 0 people, but you want to start poking them first. So best case scenario is I stack up my passive, right? I get a nice ulti stun on somebody, and that brings them down to, like, let's say 70% health. And then the next time my stun comes back up, that's when I can full in 100% try to dive them. So if the god has a lot of built-in sustain, a Hades, a Zhong-Kui, a Gooby, or they're building a lot of items like the Bancroft Typhons of the world, it kind of ruins that strategy. Neja's coming towards me, so I'm just going to immediately dash away. I'm not even going to think about it. Now I got to look back, though, towards my Sobek. I'm going to try to stun him off him. Not quite going to be able to do it. Sobek kind of laid down his life for me right there. They've got 3 going towards the Gold Fury, so I'm going to kind of peek this way. They're not doing it. Let's grab this Harpy on the way back to the lane. Always maximizing your XP, grabbing every bit that you can. So for matchups that are good for Agni, there's a couple of different things. One, I like gods that have to stand still for their ultis, because then they're just sitting ducks for Agni. So I don't mind going against a Scylla at all, because she kind of has to stand still and just sit there and take my abilities. A god like Ra is actually pretty nice for Agni to go against, because it's super easy for him to apply the Divine Ruin later in the game. The healing doesn't end up being so oppressive. Now, the built-in healing on gods like Hades and Zhong-Kui, that's different than an actual healing god, because what's going to happen is the Bancroft's healing, the built-in healing on Hades, that kind of stuff is going to really hurt your laning phase, which is where it becomes a problem, where you don't have the Divine Ruin on yet. But once you get into the mid-game team fight, that's when Agni actually does pretty well against the healers. So the actual healers in the game, Hel, Chang'e, Aphrodite, whatever, Ra, because he can apply that Divine Ruin from so far away safely, and also frequently because of the multiple ultimate procs that you have. For gods that you don't like going against right off the bat, because you have a dash and not a leap, you got to be careful going against gods that can make walls. Gods like Thor, gods like Ymir right now, pretty popular. Not going to be able to reach. I got to dash away from this Agni. My beads are up, but I'm constantly afraid. Trying to wait for a little stun here to help out my boys. I'm going to look for the Arthur, get a little 2-1 stun off. I still think the Neja was looking for the ulti. He was. I'm actually going to preemptively dash through here, so he's going to be bleeding when he comes down. I made sure to dash myself towards the jungle, kind of away from where the enemy team was, so I wasn't out of position after my dash. Now that we got those last couple of kills, we're just going to reset and go right back to farming. Farming should always be your priority. A little risky for us to go do the gold right there because of the Arthur still being full HP, so we don't do it. That's a little rude. I'm just going to dash away. So outside of walls, you should always keep in mind cripples on any god that has a movement ability. There's not a bunch of cripple gods that are super in the meta right now. The one that comes to mind the most is Cupid. Cupid as a hunter can do very well against you on Agni. If he catches you unaware, he throws down the ulti, puts you right in the middle, and then now you're in a situation where you have to beads the Cupid ulti. Luckily for you, you won't have to typically deal with a Cupid in lane unless for some reason I'm playing against you in the mid lane and I pick Cupid, because I tend to do that from time to time. But chances are you're not probably playing against me in the mid lane on Cupid, which means that Cupid is probably over in the duo lane, so you're at least free to farm until the mid game, but then you just have to keep that consciously on your mind. Neja blinked and sashed at me, so I've just got to dash away. Got to use my beads there preemptively, and now I'm just going to back it up. We've got 30% CDR with our build currently. I'm going to be getting myself into a early Rod of Tahuti. I have been liking on big damage gods in the mid lane recently a Rod of Tahuti. A lot of people are building super tanky. And I have found that simply embracing the damage that you're doing on the enemy mid laner and the enemy ADC is often the way to go in the mid game. Instead of trying to counter build right off the bat, all of these super tanky boys that are building sledges and Stone of Gaias and all this stuff. Instead, embrace the fact that you can one-shot the enemy mid laner and ADC, take them off the board, and then that's kind of your job. So we're going to be going into the third item, Rada Tahuti. Soon thereafter, getting our Soul Reaver, Soul Gems, and Obsidian Shards to finish up the build. Of course, if they had healing in this game, then our Spear of Desolation, instead of that, would have been instead a Divine Ruin. I'm just going to sit around and wait for this red buff to spawn. I'm going to dash through it, so I'm a little bit away from the red buff here when he starts going on his crazy aggro attack phase, so I don't take that much poke. Heading back to the mid lane, I'm going to look for an ulti stun combo on anybody that I can find. I find the Khepri, that's totally fine. I don't mind poking him down to half health. My Sobek does need to be afraid, though. Scylla's got the Khepri ult on her, so nobody really wants to put her down. Their red buff seems to be up, so I'm going to start pathing my way over here. I'm just going to burn it with everything I got just to try to get this and get out. I don't even want to pick up the red buff. I just want to burn it. I got to be careful with this Nezha. I'm going to turn around and try to help. I'm not going to be able to kill the Nezha. I tried to get the poke over on the Scylla to get the kill while they were all waiting. I've still got one bomb up, so I can actually stick around here. Scylla dashed over the wall to the mid T2. I know the Khepri ult is down, so I'm actually going to be very aggressive right here. Arthur's over in the solo lane. I know where the Nezha is, so I really shouldn't be at risk of dying. But we did have a nice opportunity to pick up a kill there on Scylla, but good peel from the Khepri. Once you get outside of the laning phase on Agni, and you start moving into the team fights, your goal is to hit anything that you can. Doesn't matter who, what they are. You have lower cooldowns with this build, which means your bombs are going to be coming up really frequently. So absolutely feel free to be tossing out these bombs for poke. They do not have to be saved for a 100-0. If the enemy team is all at 70% health because you've been poking them over walls with Agni bombs, then that is just as helpful as having basically one person dead on their team with a full combo. It's also going to make them all position themselves differently, so feel free to toss them right over the walls. Also should be noted that your 2 does go through walls, so you can't dash through walls or anything, but if somebody is on the other side of the wall, you can throw your ulti and your 1 over the wall, but you can also 2 through the wall. The flames will go right on up through it.
The Gold Fury.
I've got a sentry ward. I'm going to move over towards this Gold Fury. They have the oracles, so I'm going to throw down my sentry, try to keep it alive. Woo! Gotta look the other way just in case Medusa ults me. He ended up ulting the other Medusa, so it ended up being fine, but I wanted to make sure I quickly flicked my camera around to stay alive there. Scylla's in the mid lane. I'm a little bit worried about who's coming. I'm going to try to hit him with a little bomb combo. I'm going to bead to get out of this Arthur ult and then dash to get out of that Scylla ulti. I'm going to run back towards my team instead of over towards the Gold Fury because I didn't know where the Nezha was. Now that I know where the Nezha is, I can start to path myself here into the jungle. I got to be careful. The Nezha seemingly knows where I am. I think they have that warded. They do. I Aegis, which is going to stop just a tiny bit of damage when I come out of this, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to keep me alive. I'm going to do a little bomb stun right on my body just to try to peel off as much as I can, but the Khepri Heavenly Agility on top of the Khepri ulti is going to let them get right on out of there. So taking a look at their team comp, let's see exactly what they're building. They've got a lot of HP right now. Magical protections are actually quite low. The only person with magical protections is going to be Khepri. So in order to counter this HP that they're building, before they get into their magical protections, instead of going an Obsidian Shard here, I am going to grab me a Soul Reaver. We are going to get these Soul Reaver bonus health procs on all of our ultimates. So it's a little bit less effective than in days past because you get, you know, that half the bonus damage on subsequent spells. But considering how many times that you can actually get Soul Reaver proc on Agni, it is still super worth it. You can probably get 3 times with the ulti plus your other abilities. That's 6 procs on a target with a lot of HP, that's still going to do a bajillion damage to them. So absolutely worth the Soul Reaver pickup, particularly in this tanky HP meta. Grabbing my red buff, heading back over to the mid lane. Now it's time for us to be thinking about going around the objectives. The game is pretty even right now, so we need to start positioning ourselves, start getting wards out. I need to wait for myself. I need to wait for my team to get in there first. I can't run in there as the mage. Now they're in here. We're going to grab those oracles. I'm going to make sure I go build up my passive as this team fight is starting. I'm going to attack that harpy a couple of times. Build up my passive all the way. So now I'm going to get that bonus bleed damage. This should still be a good fight for us. I'm looking over the wall. I know that there's a Scylla Neja around here. I'm going to look for the stun over the wall. Not going to get the stun because Scylla goes into her ulti, but we do get him down to half HP. Stun's coming back up in 1 second. We should be able to go back towards the Gold Fury. I'm going to start this fight off with my dash so we can get the dash damage onto the Gold Fury, and I can also get my cooldowns coming up ASAP. Once it gets down to about a quarter HP, I'm going to hit it with a ultimate 2 combo for the secure. Now we can keep fighting off of this. My dash is back up. I'm kind of just looking at Arthur. Should be okay. Still going to look for a little combo right there. I'm actually just going to dash as far as I can away from him since his W key is so strong. Get a little bit of lane clear on my way out. As long as you know where everybody is on the map, you don't need to be super afraid of farming with low HP. Obviously, the notable exception being if you're around the red buff. The red buff takes absolutely no prisoners. I would be careful over by him. And now we have we need 50 more gold for the Soul Reaver. So we're going to stick around, get a little bit more farm. I'm actually going to stick around until I can get a Soul Reaver and a Sentry Ward so we can start getting prepped and ready for the Fire Giant. Back it up. Soul Reaver, check. Sentry Ward coming online. For God matchups with Agni, Agni doesn't really need any gods to be paired with him. He can pretty much be picked in any situation. So if you're playing, if you see an Agni picked on your team, there's not a ton of things that you can do to really help him out. He actually doesn't need that much setup. And because of this, he's actually a good god to pick when you really don't know what to pick. You're like, I don't really know what's going to pair well with my team. We don't really have a lot of setup over here. We don't even really have a lot of peel. Well, that's still totally fine to pick the Agni because he has a dash to get away. He's got the stun to set up for himself. He can use abilities over walls. He's a good pick to pick when you're like, I don't really know if there's anything that'll be super strong here. So I'm trying to keep a little bit of distance between me and the enemy team. I don't want to get too close, particularly to this Khepri and Arthur. As you can see, they still want me. I don't mind putting some damage into this Khepri. So I'm going to walk over here, throw down a little Sentry Ward on my feet to make sure they don't know where I am still. Sticking around my Sentry Ward. They've got a Medusa shoving up the left lane. So if we're going to stay over here, we need to either fight or do the Fire Giant or something. Neja is for sure he's looking for the ult combo, but he's not going to find it. I'm going to dash away just in case the Scylla ult was coming for me. I'm going to wait a little bit for my cooldowns as I get back into this fight. Scylla needs to be my main target. I do have a Arthur on me. I'm going to use my 2. I'm going to save my beads for now. Start dashing away from this Arthur. Get a little room between me and their front line. We don't know where the Medusa is, so I do have to be a little bit careful here. She was last seen in the left side jungle. I'm going to assume that she backed and is not in our jungle right now, so it should be safe for me to come farm this red buff. If you're ever afraid of the red buff gonna get the kill on you, you can of course use your 1 to stun the red buff as well. It does work on minions. All right, now that we've got the Soul Reaver online, I'm going to start working on my Soul Gem.
gank.
Soul Gem gonna give me more bonus damage on our abilities. Well, every time we use 4 abilities, we're gonna get it all stacked up. And then our next ability is gonna deal an extra 30% of our magical power. Plus, it's gonna heal us and everybody around us. We get to proc this a lot on Agni because of our 3 ultis, procking it every single time. This is also gonna max us out at 40% CDR, which we won't end up with because we will eventually get rid of this Mage's Blessing and grab an Obsidian Shard instead. Once again, being careful of the Nezha. He did force my beads. His ulti was used though. All right, I'm gonna have to back it up right now. Now my positioning is a little bit risky with my beads down. So I need to go ahead and back it right on up. I don't want to abandon my Sobek completely here. So I'm still trying to stick around and help him out with the Nezha ulti being down. Nezha comes back and we might be able to force the Capri ult right here. Gonna have to dash away from that Scylla, putting me away from the fight. Still trying to maintain the wall between me and the enemy. Throwing down a 2 over towards that Arthur to stun him off of the Medusa. And now I can get myself back into this fight. Dashing right through the Nezha, which should get the kill. Finger on Aegis just in case I need it. In case I accidentally turn a corner into a Medusa ult or something. Looking at the map right now, we can see the Capri location. We've got the creeps over here. We should take this opportunity and just shove up left lane. We're going to grab the tier 2 tower. I'm going to dash through to be aggressive over by the Medusa. We can also attack through the mid lane. Try to grab that T2. And we might even be able to get a actual Phoenix off of this. So we should commit to this. We got all 5 of us. We're a little bit low, but they've just got an Arthur and a Capri for the next 10 seconds. Gonna go for the full combo send here on the Arthur. I'm just gonna dump everything into him. I don't feel like they've got kill potential on me. And all of my Soul Reaver procs will help us get that kill. Now we should back up and immediately go to Fire Giant. We've got enough damage to burn it. And they're not going to have enough people up to contest it. One more time on your objectives on Agni. You're standardly going to be starting them off with your 3 because you want that cooldown to come back up on this ability. So that way, if the fight does break out, you have your dash up. Now I'm building back up my passive. I'm going to throw down an ulti and a 2 at the exact same time when I think I need to secure. So you're securing on objectives combo is you pop the ulti. The second you hit your ulti, you pop your 2. Those will go off at almost exactly the same time, giving you a much bigger burst of secure, more similar and akin to something like a raw ulti. If you just do the bombs by themselves, those bombs will go off staggered, of course. It'll be bomb, bomb, bomb. And so you'll actually not quite be doing the burst damage at the exact same time. So you are better off using a couple of bombs to start the burst and then finishing it with the bomb too. Now we grab our Soul Gem. We're going to get rid of our Mage's Blessing and start to work on that Obsidian Shard. Now, you will not, of course, always get Obsidian Shard as a 6th item. A lot of the times you're going to have to get it a little bit earlier, but we looked at their builds. We saw that they were building mostly HP. You can see he didn't get a magical defense item until this Genji guard so much later in the game. And of course, Capri, we don't really care what he builds because he's the full-on support, and nobody else had any magical defenses either, meaning that we could get away with a lot more damage without percent pen at all. Here in the late stages of the game, I am sitting as far back in these team fights as humanly possible, behind as many walls as will possibly have me, and looking to ulti over and over and over again. My ultimate is on a very, very low cooldown between those 3 bombs. Throw out a little sentry ward right here. I don't want to move up any farther. I've got my finger basically on my beat at all times right now because of this Nezha, just to try to have me ready. There's the Arthur coming in. I'm going to immediately blink away. I get a nice Soul Gem proc. I'm just going to throw down all of my ultis right on top of myself. I do end up getting Scylla ultied. Unfortunately, my Aegis doesn't quite go off, but they might have thrown the game in order to kill me right there. It's going to be close if they can kill that Arthur in the back line. Nezha does not land the ulti. I can finish up my Obsidian Shard and grab myself another Sentry Ward. If they kill this Nezha, That should open up the path for killing this Arthur and Capri. They've got 30 seconds after this. That's plenty of sustain. Arthur's actually going to run them away, which is pretty smart. And now they just got to go for the Phoenix. They probably won't be able to get that there. So my problem in that fight was that I got Scylla ulti. I got a little bit distracted by the Arthur, and so I ended up getting hit by the I'm a Monster. I didn't get the Aegis off in time as well when he dashed in. He dashed in and he hit me with the Sikkim. I went for the Aegis and it just didn't quite go off in time. Now that we got left Phoenix down, that is the most important Phoenix in the game for us here on Order side because it is the farthest Phoenix away from the Fire Giant. That means that when they have to defend the fire creeps, they will have to be the farthest away from the Fire Giant, preventing them from rotating over, thus helping us get the next Fire Giant. Pyro's up. We're going to go head over here, do the Pyromancer. Fire Giant still doesn't spawn for about another minute or so. So now all we really want to do is get some wards out and look for some pickoffs while we're kind of waiting for this to respawn. So get out a nice forward ward right there. There's actually a Scylla right in front of me. I'm just going to look to get some damage on him. Force his Aegis. That is a total win. Forcing an Aegis at this point is great. Now, they might try to come defend this Fire Giant, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a Purification Bead and a Potion of Power instead of ranking up my Aegis. Going to give me just a little bit more oomph, a little bit more damage. It's also going to cap out my CDR at 40%. Because we've got the Soul Gem 10, the cooldown boost 10, and the Spear of Desolation 10. So this will bring me up to a full 40%. I'd rather have that right now than the upgraded Aegis.
Attack!
Now this Arthur is moving up because he's trying to ward stuff. He is a totally fine target. At this point in the game, anybody is a good target for us in Agni. We're going to be burning people down. Now we do not have our Medusa with us, which is a little bit awkward. So we got to be careful based off of that. That is Arthur ulti. I'm going to dash away because I'm afraid of this Nezha. I think he's looking for me in the back. Currently, he's on the Camazot, but I'm still afraid that he's going to try to blink ulti me. I'm going to try to throw out some bombs at him. Get him out of here. Gotta be able to pick up the kill right there. Oh, here we go. We're just going to launch bombs. All the bombs right into them. I'm actually going to dash into this fight because I'm feeling confident that we've got the peel. We can keep diving right through on this. Looking right at the Capri. Gonna hit him with a little stun combo right there. Good Scylla root actually keeps them alive. And now we should just back up and go to the Fire Giant. So you can see in that fight I was being very patient, sticking away from the god that can kill me, which is really this Nezha. He's the one that I have to be super concerned about. And so I was sticking very far away from him. I can't super tank this. This is actually kind of awkward. Because they're going to be teleporting back in. We got to retreat off of this. That Arthur teleport is a disaster. They might stay on it, which means I actually have to stick around. So I'm going to just throw down all my bombs to go for the kill here. We do grab the Fire Giant. I'm going to start dashing away. Arthur's coming back in on me. I got my fingers on my actives just in case I need them. Good news, we get the Fire Giant because we're swinging our brains out. Bad news, we only got it on 3 of us. Good news, it's the enhanced Fire Giant.
Shut your mouth, lad.
Gold Fury does seem to be up, so we're going to try to burn this Gold Fury. Now we have to be a little bit careful here. They got 4 people up. They know that it's up. So I'm going to sit back here just in case they're coming. Try to do a little ulti 2 over that wall. And now I can go ahead and back up. We'll get our Aegis all the way ranked up. We've got the red pot on us for another 2 minutes. So we grab ourselves an Aegis, a little Elixir of Speed, a Sentry Ward, pop that Elixir of Speed. And now we start to shove out the left lane and the mid lane. Make sure that you are building up that passive before team fights when at all possible, because it is going to give you that extra damage per tick. You can see right now it's about 87 damage every 0.5 seconds for 3 seconds. That's a lot of damage on top of an ability that's already going to have bonus damage because of Soul Gem, on top of bonus damage from Soul Reaver, on top of bonus damage potentially from the Rada Tahuti if they are below that HP threshold. So bonus damage on bonus damage on bonus damage. We got ourselves a Medusa caught out of position, so we're going to be able to dive right into him, put him down. Now we've got a nice 5v4 with the Oni creeps. All I need to do is make sure that I don't get Scylla Neja comboed. So I am keeping it as safe as I can, throwing down some abilities over the walls. We hit the Neja twice right there. We've got the ward out right here. We should go attack the middle lane. My pathing is a little bit risky right now. I should have gone the other way. I'm going to dash to get through to these creeps so we can bring the creeps into this Phoenix. Now that the creeps are into the Phoenix, we got to still be a little bit careful. We don't have the tier 2 in right lane. We should just chill. Unless they kill the Neja right there. No, they're not going to kill the Neja. Well, actually, you know what? Screw it. We can just burn the Titan. I'm going to drop everything that I've got onto the Titan right now. Keeping my beads at the ready. I'm going to beads and dash through this. And then use my Aegis. Nope. Game's going to end right before we use the Aegis. Because they let us walk right on in, I can throw down all of my abilities right onto the Titan and burn them down really quick. Agni, not quite as good as like an Anubis at burning down the Titan, but still very, very good at the end of the game. For our very last item, we would have sold our cooldown boots. At that point, I would not have bought any more cooldown. It is simply not necessary. And so then you really get into the ultra situational items there on Agni. That's going to be dependent on your game. Do I end up getting a Divine Ruin because I decide that the Neja healing, that the Medusa healing is actually too much? Maybe I want to counter the Stone of Gaia from the King Arthur. I think that HP 5 is too annoying. We keep knocking him up and he's getting that 15% of his HP. Maybe that's something that we do. Maybe we are getting focused by the Neja. Maybe our beads are just not going off when we press them. So we get ourselves a Magi's or a Mantle of Discord to try to keep ourselves alive from that combo. Those are the type of ideas that you're looking for on that 6 slot item. Now, for those of you here in Twitch chat or those of you on the YouTube comments when this gets uploaded, this was a slightly different format for the God Guides videos. So I would love to know how you feel about doing the second round of God Guides with this style of format, where I talk more about my process in the game, about what we're doing. We still talk about the build and the leveling order and stuff like that a little bit. We still talk about matchups and who you want to pair with and not go against, but talking a little bit more and focusing on the actual thought process of where we're farming, why we're going places, when I'm looking at certain things, when we're looking to call certain things, instead of maybe just describing the ability so much this second time through. And that is our Agni guide.